Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, I am going to be talking, or rather sharing, my thoughts on DJs Mo and Size 8 separation and reunion. Now, let me put a disclaimer first. These are just my thoughts from what I saw Size 8 share on TV. And this is not news. This is something that happened like 2 months ago, but because I was still doing the series on steps to your wedding, from engagement to wedding. By the way, if you're interested in watching that series, I'll be putting a link on the description. So I was still doing that. So I felt, yes, I have some thoughts about this, but let me first finish the series, then I'll get back to that. And another disclaimer, it's not like I am bashing or saying anything, because I don't know them at a personal level. These are just my thoughts and what I picked from what happened. All right. So, and also on the reunion, I just saw some clips online, some posts that they were reunited. So in case they have not yet been reunited, I'm really sorry. Maybe I'm just very hopeful that they will reunite, all right? So this is also based on what I've seen online, all right? So I'm just going to share some of the lessons I picked, some of the things I have picked, and also at the end I'll be sharing shortly on, she mentioned that people were saying that this separation was not real, that people were saying that it is maybe just a gig thereafter or something. So I'll also be talking about that just shortly at the end, all right? But first is genuinely they have been separated. What are some of the things I was able to pick from that, all right? So that's all I'm talking about. So the first thing I picked from that is their marriage might have been under attack. One thing why I say this is because they are believers, they are Christians, and they have been very vocal on marriages. They have been talking about marriages. They have been trying to get content that is to help marriages out here. So every Christian marriage has a common enemy, right? The devil is the enemy. Sometimes people might look and say maybe the spouse is the enemy. Others might see the in-laws as enemies. Others might see friends as enemies. But at the end of the day, we have a common enemy if you are a believer, and that is the devil. And why I say this is I had just watched a podcast done by Priscilla, the lady who acted War Room, that wonderful movie, The War Room. And she was saying, before they even went to shoot, the directors of the movie told them that because they were acting about marriage, they should pray so much for their marriage, because once you act on something for them, because they are believers, whatever movie they shoot, attacks come on that area. So for this one, they were acting on marriage, so they were told they were really to pray on their marriage and all that. And when they got into acting, their marriage was affected. They started having issues, but well, God helped them through. So when I saw this separation by Size 8 talking about it, I felt these people have been very vocal, and this could just be an attack. And why do I say that? Because they are very influential. They are out here. They are celebrities in their own way. So when their marriage is affected, it goes out there. Everybody now sees this marriage that looked like it was thriving. Now it's not working. And that narrative that has been pushed, that no marriages are actually healthy and happy, and people are out here just pretending to be happy and all. Now it is confirmed, right? If this happens, right? So I felt this might have just been an attack, so that when this comes out, then that which they have been trying to build on marriages working and all is attacked, and it is watered down. All right, so that is the one thing I picked from that separation. The other thing I picked is sometimes separation is a blessing. Why I say this is I've seen several couples who have recovered from separation, and separation is actually what helped them get back together and have a healthy marriage. But separation is only a blessing if when you separate, you are working on something. It's not like you are just going your separate ways and not trying to work things out. What I have seen worked for couples who got separated and got back together and they got now into a very thriving marriage is when they got separated and they started working either through therapy or through talking to someone who would help them figure out what their problems were and what was making the marriage not work, and them keeping in touch, still talking. And so with that, a separation comes to help them realize what their problem really was, what the things they had not healed from, probably even from trauma from before they even got married. Start working on them, and especially through therapy. And with that, and having people praying with them and people working with them through the separation, after the separation, their marriage actually becomes way better than when they were even first newlyweds. All right. So I've seen separation as a blessing, and given that I hope and trust they are back together, I believe the separation might have actually been a blessing for them to handle some of the challenges they were going through separately and then come together as whole and fully healed. The other thing I see from this is resilience and commitment. Any marriage that works needs commitment. For you to even be separated and come back together, or even to stay in a marriage that is a bit shaky and all, it calls for a lot of commitment. So when I saw this, and later I saw the clips on Reunion, I felt this is a lot of commitment to the promises you give to your partner, and commitment to what you told God, and commitment to, believing that marriage can actually work, and just resilience, because marriages go through ups and downs, just like life. It's not a straight line. There are ups and there are downs. So one thing I noted from this is it calls for a lot of resilience. So they have been resilient in their marriage, right? So, and given that they have been married for a long time, it means they have been committed in their marriage, and it shows a lot of resilience for what they believe in, because they have been very vocal to show that marriages actually work. The other thing I picked was have the right people around you. One thing I heard is her saying they had not gone out there to tell people that they were separated, but already people are talking about it. I think that's why she felt the need to come and clear the air and just say things and how they were. So it means there were people around them who saw, and then they went out to tell other people. So it just shows me how the people around you can influence things negatively or positively, because I've also seen another celebrity and they were separated, and they were actually talking in another show and saying that years back they were separated, and they went through therapy, and a few people knew, but it never went out. Actually, the person who was hosting them was like, what, you guys, we thought you had a perfect marriage, because it's never come out here that they were separated. So it means there were right people around them. And at times you might not even choose the people who are around you, but just if you can choose people around you, then choose right people and pray. Sometimes just pray. Some people look like they are right, but you can pray that God brings the right people your way, and the people who are not for you to just leave you guys alone. Okay, so having the right people around you is very, very important. And I'm not blaming her that people went out and said no. Sometimes the people who are close, it could even just be not necessarily a friend, could be a neighbor, it could be their house manager, it could be the watchman, you know. So it's not like I'm saying it's their friends who went out and said these things. You never know who would have probably said these things. So it could even be family, right? So sometimes the people you think that are very close to you are your friends and all, they might not actually be for you. They might actually be happy when things are not working for you. So it's good to also pray that God brings the right people, and that the wrong people, even if they look like they are right, they just leave you alone. All right. So that is the other thing I picked from this. Another thing I picked is separation and reunion is an encouragement to people who are going through troubled marriages, that you can be going through challenges and all, but even with those challenges, your marriage can still work. So when I saw this, I was like, this is actually an encouragement to someone who might be going through a troubled marriage, that even if you are feeling like you are in your lowest, there are people who have gone low and they still came out strong. So it's an encouragement to marriages that challenges might come, but you can overcome challenges. When you work together, you work as a team, you can overcome any challenge that comes into your marriage. Okay, so that is the other thing I picked, that this is a testimony that marriages can go through ups and downs and still come out strong and still continue thriving. All right. And just before I go to the next one, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. It helps our channel grow. It also helps us reach more people. If you're also finding it insightful, give us a thumbs up and share with someone to also help them get to see the lessons that we are picking. And why you need to subscribe is so that you can continue getting content related to relationships and marriage, because that is all I share about in this channel. The other thing I saw on this is forgiveness and communication. No separation and reunion can happen without forgiveness and communication. Once people are separated, communication has to continue happening. And this goes to any challenges, not necessarily just for people who have been separated. In marriage, for a marriage to work, there has to be constant communication and forgiveness. You have to forgive your partner. They have to also forgive you, because nobody is perfect. We will tend to hurt each other in the journey. So there has to be forgiveness, and there has to be communication. When you are hurt, you communicate. When you feel offended, you communicate. You know, all that. So communication is very key, and forgiveness is also very key in a marriage to thrive and a marriage to work. So this is one thing I saw, that because she was saying she was hurt and all, and she was in pain. So if she went back to her marriage, it means she had to forgive, and she could only forgive after clear communication and them understanding. And one thing and this is something I mentioned before, one thing I have realized, a lot of times couples are hurting not because of what has been done, but because of what they felt. Sometimes someone might have done something and you have forgiven them, but you are still hurting because of what it made you feel. Maybe it made you feel looked down upon. It made you feel despised. It made you feel like you're worthless and all that. Sometimes, actually, some of the conflicts that happen in marriage just because of what someone felt when something was done or said. Not exactly what was said or done, but because of what it made them feel. All right? So that is the other thing I picked. And lastly, for the genuine, now these are my thoughts on genuine separation. The last one is, you don't have to publicize struggles. Now, as I've said just before, maybe I believe Saizet had to come and clear the air because people are already talking about their separation online. But if maybe it's not such a case, if something has not happened like that, you don't have to go out and tell people what you're going through, especially in the public, maybe in social media, in the mainstream media. You don't have to tell people what you're going through. All right, you can tell maybe a therapist, you can tell someone who will work with you, a mentor who can help you solve the solution. But venting out there, because I've seen people who go out and just talk about what they are going through, tell everyone, call people, tell them this is what my husband has done. Go out with the boys and tell them this is what my wife is doing or saying and all that. And these people go back together, and you know what? People won't forget what you told them about your spouse. You can go back together, forgive each other, and forget about all that happened. But it's out there. People will always refer to, and they will always see you and see your spouse in that way. All right. But if you talk to someone who can help you solve the problem, you will solve the problem and you will still continue thriving in your own way, and people don't have to know whatever is happening. So I'm not blaming Saizet, because I believe she had her own reasons, and maybe it's because this was already being talked about that she had to now just come out and clear the air and say we are actually separated and all that. But if this is not out here, sometimes you don't even have to go out and defend. Just with Kenyans, of course, there is news every other day. You know, people will talk about it and forget about it and move on. But when you go out and be the one who is now going and attacking your spouse, even recovering from that might be very, very difficult, right? So those are my thoughts on if it was genuine, and the lessons I picked from genuine separation and reunion. Now I go to what I mentioned when I was beginning. If this was just them acting and just maybe just trying to show how relationships can go through separation and reunion. Now, these are my thoughts on that, because she mentioned that is what people were saying. So this is what I thought. The first one is, God can still use simplicity. Drama might sell, but it's a disgrace, especially because they are both Christians and already a pastor. If this wasn't real, then they would come out and say, by the way, we were just acting. You know, but I've seen people do such things. So for them, if they did that just for the fame, just for to pull the masses and all, it would be very, very wrong, because God can still use their marriage that is already simple with no drama to show that marriages can still work without drama. You can have conflict, but without drama, right? So this is, if they were just acting and they didn't tell people they were acting, then it is a disgrace, especially to the Christian faith and to marriages that are of believers, that you don't have to have drama. God can still use your marriage that is simple and with no drama to show that marriages can work. The other thing I would say about this is, if it was just acting and them having fun, it is offensive to people who are going through real marriage challenges. People who are going through real challenges, it is an offense. You know, I was even watching something. There's a challenge I was going through, and I saw this person saying that they went through this challenge, and through the interview, whenever the host would ask them, so is this when you faced the challenge? No, there's no point they mentioned the challenge. So I was wondering, then why would you say that this has been your biggest challenge in life, but there's no point in your life that challenge is actually coming out? And you see, for me it was offensive because I couldn't find a solution from that. So if they were just acting and they didn't come out to say they were acting, then it is offensive to people who are actually having challenges in their marriages. It is like demeaning what they are going through, because when you go out and pretend you're facing a challenge, it's like you're laughing at people who are actually having real challenges. So if they were just acting, that is my thought, that it is offensive to people who are actually struggling in marriage. And the last thing I would say on if they were just acting and they didn't come out to say they were acting, what I would say is you shouldn't joke about serious matters. I was just going through some of the comments in that video that went out on TV, because it's also on YouTube, and people are saying, oh, you have planted, you will harvest this and that. And I thought, by the way, if they were just acting, then they might actually be calling a separation to happen, right? When you joke about something, and especially a challenge, you might be enticing the devil to come and attack you. And for you, it could be an opening, like you are opening a door for the devil to take advantage and fight you to a point that you actually face a real challenge. So if it is joking, please don't joke about serious matters. And if you're joking around it, it's good to just come out and say, by the way, guys, we were just acting, it wasn't real. But sometimes, like that person was saying, it's planting, and you might as well get the harvest, you know. So in life, please don't joke about serious things, because it might affect you in days to come. You might find yourselves actually in a similar challenge, whatever you are joking about. So those are just my thoughts on the separation, and I believe reunion. But as I said, if it has not happened, this is what I've picked online. So these are just my thoughts on that. I hope you've picked one or two things that could help you in your own relationship, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching to the end, and God bless you. And don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below.